as we no longer have any time to consider these resolutions, bills, committee reports for the remaining of our session days. Is there any objection? The motion is approved, and therefore the matters appearing in our reference of business are deemed read and transmitted to the archives.
Sir President, we have 4 bills on third reading. May I ask for a minute suspension just to wait for a few more?
1 minute suspension. Today we have a petition for of 14. So we do third reading. Are you saying that we should have 13? No. The quorum being we declare the quorum at 14. When we call third reading, it means are you saying that we should maintain at least 13? I don't see the law. There is still quorum. The session is resumed. The majority leader is recognized.
With the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider on third reading Senate Bill number 3211.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of Senate Bill 3211 on third reading is in order.
With the consent of the body, may we request the Secretary to read only the title of the bill without prejudice to inserting into the Senate Journal and Record the whole text thereof.
The Secretary is directed to do so.
Senate Bill number 3211, an act defining and penalizing distracted driving.
Sir President, copies of the measure as approved on second reading have been distributed to the members of the Senate last May 25, 2016, thereby complying with the 3-day rule found under Section 26, Paragraph 2, Article 6 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution. We are thus ready to approve the measure in third reading. I ask for a roll call vote.
The Secretary will conduct the roll call vote.
Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan Peter, Compañero S, Cayetano P.I.S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Unasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Drilon.
There are 12 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention. Senate Bill number 3211 is hereby approved on third reading. For the record, the Chair wishes to inform the body that of the 24 senators, one is on medical leave, 2 are under the custody of the court, and 1 is out of the country, leaving 20 available senators within the jurisdiction of the Senate. The Majority Leader is recognized once more.
With the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider on third reading House Bill 6080.
Any objection? Hearing none, in order.
With the consent of our colleagues, may we request the Secretary to read only the title of the bill without prejudice to inserting into the Senate Journal Record the whole text thereof.
Please proceed.
House Bill number 6080, an act modifying the qualifications for and creating a screening committee in the election or appointment of the directors and officers of electric cooperatives, amending for the purpose sections 26A and 26B of Presidential Decree number 269 as amended by Republic Act number 10531, otherwise known as the National Electrification Administration Reform Act of 2013.
Majority Leader.
Sir President, copies of this measure as approved on second reading have been distributed to all members of the Senate last May 25, 2016, thereby complying with the 3-day rule found required under the Philippine Constitution. We are thus ready to approve the measure on third reading. I ask for a roll call vote.
Secretary will conduct the roll call vote.
Honorable Senator Sangara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan, Peter, Compañero S, Cayetano Pia S, Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Unasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Drilon.
12 affirmative votes, no negative vote, no abstention. House Bill 6080 is approved on third reading.
Sir President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider on third reading Senate Bill number 2948.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of the measure is in order.
With the consent of the body, may you request the Secretary to read only the title of the bill without prejudice to inserting into the Senate Journal and Record the whole text thereof.
Secretaries will do so.
Senate Bill number 2948, an act establishing a national vision screening program for kindergarten pupils and appropriating funds therefore.
Majority Leader.
Sir President, copies of the measure as approved on second reading have been distributed to the members of the Senate last May 25, 2016, thereby complying with the 3-day rule required under the Philippine Constitution. We are thus ready to approve the measure on third reading. I ask for a roll call vote.
Secretary will conduct a roll call vote.
Honorable Senator Sangara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan, Peter, Compañero S, Cayetano Pia S, Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Unasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Drilon.
There are 12 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention. Senate Bill 2948 is approved on third reading.
With the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider on third reading House Bill number 4366.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of House Bill 4366 on third reading is in order.
With the consent of our colleagues, may you request the Secretary to read only the title of the bill without prejudice to inserting into the Senate Journal Record the whole text thereof.
Secretary will do so.
House Bill number 4366, an act establishing Science and Technology High School in Barangay San Jose, City of Antipolo, Province of Rizal, to be known as Antipolo City National Science and Technology High School, and appropriating funds therefore.
Majority Leader.
Sir President, copies of the measure as approved on second reading have been distributed to the members of the Senate last May 25, 2016, thereby complying with the 3-day rule found under Section 26, Paragraph 2, Article 6 of the Philippine Constitution. We are thus ready to approve the measure on third reading. I move for a roll call vote.
Secretary will conduct the roll call vote.
The Honorable Senator Sangara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan, Peter Compañero S, Cayetano P.S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Unasan, Lapid, Ligarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar, Senate President Rilon.
House Bill, 12 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention. House Bill 4366 approved on third reading.
With the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider on third reading House Bill number 5746.
Any objection, hearing none, consideration of the measure is in order.
With the consent of the body, may we request the Secretary to read only the title of the said bill without prejudice to inserting into the Senate Journal and Record the whole text thereof.
Secretary will do so.
House Bill number 5746, an act converting the Mayor Hilarion A. Ramiro Senior Regional Training and Teaching Hospital in the province of Misamis Occidental into a medical center to be known as the Mayor Hilarion A. Ramiro Senior Medical Center.
Mr. President, copies of this measure as approved on second reading have been distributed to the members of the Senate last May 25, 2016, thereby complying with the 3-day rule required by the Philippine Constitution. We are thus ready to approve the measure on third reading. I ask for a roll call vote.
Secretary will conduct a roll call vote.
Honorable Senator Sangara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan, Peter Compañero S, Cayetano P.S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Hunasan, Lapid, Ligarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar, Senate President Rilon.
There are 12 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention. House Bill 5746 is approved on third reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, may we recognize the Minority Leader, Senator Soto.
The Minority Leader, Senator Vicente Soto, is recognized.
Mr. President,
Senator Soto.
I wonder if it's possible for us to include in the motion of the Majority Leader earlier that the 5th additional reference of business be included already as of now, Mr. President, because my concern is contained in that,
The 5th,
yes, it is contained in that document, Mr. President.
I do not,
I am told that it is incoming. It is
the
being
chair
done
does not
now.
have a copy of the 5th
President.
additional reference of business. Yes.
At the
Majority
proper
Leader.
time, I will not have an objection, but as of the moment, it is still being officially routed, and the signatures are still being gathered by the different secretaries. So when it is ready, Mr. President, may I ask the Majority Leader to make the motion when the 5th additional, if it's ready. It's not yet ready at this point in time.
I see. Then I will have to wait for that, Mr. President, before I move for the approval of a House bill that is contained in that communication.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Mr.
In the meantime, Mr. President, thank you to the Minority Leader. May we recognize Senator Pia Cayetano.
May we request for some order? There is a gentleman there on the floor. Senator Pia Cayetano is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this is a manifestation with respect to Senate Bill number 29 under Committee Report number 38. Mr. President, as a designated acting chair on the anti-age discrimination bills, your Senate Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development has agreed to adopt House Bill number 6418 or Committee Report number 998 on an act prohibiting discrimination against any individual in employment on account of age and providing penalties therefore, and concur with the same. The Senate President makes no objection. This is to do away with the need to conduct a bicameral conference committee. I so move, Mr. President.
1 minute suspension. What is, ano ito? Ano ito?
They were choosing ano po namin sa session. So they figure the travel time is close. Using it.
Okay. And then why did we? Okay, wait. Okay. So okay, we have done this. Oh. No, there's a, okay, sige. Pia, can you just reiterate your motion? Session is resumed. Senator Pia Cayetano is once more recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me once more put on record the motion before us. Mr. President, as your designated Senate Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development Vice Chairperson, I hereby move to adopt House Bill number 6418 or Committee Report number 998 on an act prohibiting discrimination against any individual in employment on account of age and providing penalties therefore. Yes, Mr. President, that is the motion, Mr. President.
Just for the information of the chair, may we know what were the amendments in the Senate version which we are now reconsidering in effect by adopting the House version?
Yes, Mr. President, let me just get my copy.
Suspended for 1 minute with the permission of the chamber. The session is resumed. The chair is now informed of the differences of the House and the Senate version, which we are. So the chair is clarified.
Okay.
Okay. There is a pending motion that the chamber adopts the House version of House Bill number 40.
House Bill number 6418.
6418. Is there any objection? So adopted.
Mr. President, for the record, we can submit the matrix that highlights the differences between the two versions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. The Majority Leader.
Mr. President, may I ask for a minute suspension?
Suspended for 1 minute.
have two stewardesses. So that would affect this new bill. Tatanda na ng stewardess. Tatanda na yung stewardess. Ay, ito para wala nang away.
Oh, ano? Sino? Ano ba yan? Reference to business? Oh, ano pa ha? Sorry? Mas kailan isama yun? Andiyan na yung fifth reference of business? Andiyan na?
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, similar to my motion on the fourth reference business, for the fifth reference of business, I move that it be deemed read into the record.
There is a fifth reference of business before the chamber. There is a motion by the majority leader that the fifth reference of business be deemed read and referred to the archives.
Yes.
Any objection here? None approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we take up the sixth reference of business.
Sixth reference of business is in order. The secretary will read the reference of business.
Sixth, additional reference of business, messages from the House of Representatives. Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 23 May 2016, it passed House number 5616 entitled an act regulating and modernizing the practice of pharmacy in the Philippines, repealing for the purpose Republic Act numbered 5921, RA number 5921, otherwise known as the Pharmacy Law, in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate.
Referred to the Committee on Rules. The Majority Leader.
Mr. President, may we recognize the Minority Leader?
Can we first consider on second reading proposed the House Bill number 5616. It has been referred to the Committee on Rules.
A minute suspension, Mr. President.
Hindi na? Hindi na? Sorry. Yeah. Hindi na, hindi na. Session is resumed. The chair withdraws the previous directive. Now the minority leader is recognized on House Bill number 5616.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, as you have read earlier, we are in receipt of a communication dated May 25, 2016 from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on May 23, 2016, the House approved on third reading House Bill 5616, to which it requires the concurrence of the Senate. House Bill 5616, otherwise known as the Philippine Pharmacy Act, is actually the counterpart of Senate Bill 2436, which this chamber approved on third reading on the 2nd of March 2015. Mr. President, Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, in his capacity of Chair of the Committee on Civil Service and Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation, has informed this representation that after he has gone over the provisions of House Bill 5616 and discussions on the matter with the stakeholders and the principal sponsor of the House bill, he has requested this representation to make a motion on his behalf for the Senate to adopt and concur House Bill 5616 as an amendment to Senate Bill 2436, consistent with the Section 35 of our rules. And so with that, Mr. President, I so move that we adopt and concur with the House Bill 5616.
What does the Majority Leader say? There's a motion that the Chamber concurs with House Bill 5616.
No objection, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, the Chamber, upon motion of the Minority Leader with the concurrence of the Majority Leader, hereby adopts House Bill number 5616.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Philippine Pharmacists Association Incorporated, we thank the Senate President, Senator Franklin Drilon, and the Majority Leader, Senator Alan Cayetano. Thank you.
Thank you to Minority Leader. Mr. President, we have one more item, but I ask for a minute suspension.
Suspended for 1 minute. Admit.
don't keep any of the secrets. They're not fun. Any word on the next guys with PTI for the yeah.
Hindi na dito ang pangalan.
No, no.
Okay na yun ba?
We were supposed to go to Natali doon. We canceled na yun. When you really push it, you ignore all the other things. It's a word of scientific community.
Tagapin lang yun, ba? Midnight yun. Parang ano nila, tinaplang. Ganun? Oo, parang good. Yung bago.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer House Bill number 5560 under Committee Report 503 from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
Can we have it as the seventh additional reference of business first? We have that
Apologies,
ready.
Mr. President. I move that we take up the seventh reference of business.
The Secretary will read the reference, seventh additional reference of business.
Committee Report number 503 submitted by the Committee on Justice and Human Rights on House Bill number 5560, introduced by Representative Albano et al., entitled An Act Granting Philippine Citizenship to Hans-Peter Smith, recommending its approval without amendment, taking into consideration Senate Bill number 2711, sponsor Senator Cayetano Pia.
Referred to the committee, to the calendar for ordinary business.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer House Bill number 5560 under the Committee Report 503 from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
Any objection? In order.
Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 5560 under Committee Report 503.
Consideration of the measure is in order.
With the permission of the body, I move that the Secretary read only the title of the said measure.
Secretary will do so.
An Act Granting Philippine Citizenship to Hans-Peter Smith.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize as the sponsor, Senator Pia Cayetano.
Senator Cayetano is recognized.
Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, I am pleased to rise before you today to sponsor House Bill number 5560, granting Philippine citizenship to Hans-Peter Smith. This is under Committee Report number 503. Mr. Smith, or Coach Hans, as he is commonly known, is an Indonesian citizen, but he has been a resident of the Philippines for 52 years now, a husband to a Filipino wife and father to 4 Filipino children. Coach Hans is an icon in Philippine football, having been deeply immersed in the local football scene for almost 4 decades. He is part of the Philippine Football Federation and a representative of the Philippines as a match commissioner for the Asian Football Confederation. Coach Hans is the only coach from the Philippines who has coached all the teams, men's, women's, boys, girls, and even the national football team. Coach Hans has mentored thousands of football players, instilling in them the discipline and passion of an athlete. He was also pivotal in starting girls' football in the country. Through his efforts over the past few decades, he has promoted football as a sport that Filipinos can excel and take pride in, even on the world stage. Mr. President, Congress has sponsored the citizenship of professional athletes in the past. It is high time that we sponsor the citizenship of someone who has been actively involved in grassroots sports and continues to be active, and who has been here for 52 years. One who has been instrumental in the rise of Philippine football, someone like Hans-Peter Smith. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Cayetano, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, given the nature of this bill, and this is something that I've discussed with our colleagues off the record, I'd like to move for the that we continue on in interpellation, although I'm not aware that there's anyone who
For the record,
who
Mr.
has,
President, there are
made
no
any
senators
reservation.
who reserve the right to interpellate. So I move that we close the period for interpellation.
Any objections? So terminated.
Mr. President, I move that we open the period for amendments.
Period for amendments is in order.
No, there are no committee amendments, Mr. President, and neither are there any reservations for individual amendments. I move that we close the period of amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none. So
Mr.
terminated.
President, I move that we approve on second reading House Bill number 5560 under Committee Report 503.
So approved.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Tuesday, May 31, 2016.
Is there any objection? There being none, the session is suspended until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, May 31, 2016. The chair is informed that there are no other matter in our agenda, and therefore the chair will consider will consider adjourning sine die tomorrow, and therefore the Senate Secretary is directed to secure the consent of the House in case we adjourn sine die tomorrow. The chair also wishes to remind our colleagues that Congress, sitting as a National Board of Canvassers, shall resume the joint public session today at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the Batasan. With that, upon motion of the Majority Leader, the session is suspended until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, May 31, 2016.